That bottle of vanilla sitting in your kitchen right now, there is a 99% chance it never touched an actual vanilla bean. And I am not exaggerating. Nearly 99% of the world's vanilla flavor is synthetic, cooked up in labs from petroleum byproducts, wood pulp waste, and in some cases, coal tar derivatives. You have been pouring chemicals into your grandma's cookie recipe and paying a premium for the privilege. But which brands are the worst offenders and which ones are actually worth your money? Americans spend roughly $600 million a year on vanilla extract and vanilla flavoring. That is a lot of cash flowing toward a product that, more often than not, has never been anywhere near a vanilla orchid. And the wildest part? Most people have no idea. They see the word vanilla on the label, maybe a pretty picture of a vanilla bean on the front, and their brain fills in the rest. It is brilliant marketing and terrible food. Real vanilla comes from the vanilla planifolia orchid, mostly grown in Madagascar, Indonesia, and Mexico. Each flower has to be hand-pollinated. Each bean takes months to cure. That is why genuine vanilla extract costs what it costs. But the food industry figured out over a century ago that they could manufacture vanillin, the main flavor compound in vanilla, from industrial waste products for pennies on the dollar. And that is exactly what most of the bottles in your grocery store aisle are filled with. Let's start with the brand that is sitting in more American pantries than any other. Great Value Imitation Vanilla is Walmart's house brand, and it's basically a chemistry experiment in a brown bottle. Flip it over and read what you're actually buying. Water, alcohol, propylene glycol, artificial flavor, and a cocktail of synthetic food dyes including tartrazine, sunset yellow FCF, and brilliant blue FCF. Let that sink in for a second. You're buying vanilla flavoring, and they had to add 3 different food colorings to it. Why? Because without the dyes, it would look nothing like real vanilla extract. It's basically petroleum-derived vanillin dissolved in propylene glycol, which, fun fact, is the same compound used in anti-freeze and e-cigarette liquid. Now, before you panic, propylene glycol is Food and Drug Administration approved for food use at certain levels. But here's the thing, real vanilla extract does not need it. Real vanilla extract is vanilla beans, alcohol, and water. That's it. 3 ingredients your great-grandmother would recognize. The Great Value version reads like an ingredient list for floor cleaner. And the food dyes they throw in? Tartrazine has been linked to hyperactivity in children and is banned or requires warning labels in several European countries. You're not buying vanilla, you're buying a bottle of industrial flavoring dressed up to look like the real thing. And at roughly $1.50 a bottle, you're getting exactly what you pay for. Nothing. But at least Great Value is honest enough to put imitation on the label. Some brands are way sneakier about it. McCormick Imitation Vanilla Flavor is probably the most recognized name in the vanilla aisle. That familiar red and white label has been a kitchen staple for decades. But here is what people miss. McCormick sells both pure vanilla extract and imitation vanilla. And millions of shoppers grab the wrong one every single week without reading the label. The imitation version's ingredient list is water, propylene glycol, vanillin, caramel color, sodium benzoate as a preservative, phosphoric acid, and ethyl vanillin. That's 7 ingredients, and not a single one of them came from a vanilla bean. The vanillin is synthesized from guaiacol, a compound derived from petroleum. The ethyl vanillin is entirely synthetic and does not even exist in nature. It is manufactured because it delivers roughly 3 times the flavor intensity of regular vanillin, which sounds great until you realize it is like comparing a concert to someone blasting a speaker in your face. Louder is not better. It is just louder. Now, McCormick does make a legitimate pure vanilla extract that contains actual vanilla bean extractives and alcohol, but it costs 4 to 5 times more than the imitation bottle. So most families reach for the cheap one and figure vanilla is vanilla. It is not. One is a complex flavor profile with more than 250 naturally occurring compounds. The other is 2 lab-made chemicals dissolved in antifreeze ingredients and colored with caramel dye. Same brand. Wildly different products. But the packaging looks almost identical, which is either a coincidence or incredibly good marketing. And here is what really gets me. McCormick used to include corn syrup in their pure vanilla extract. They quietly removed it around 2010, but the fact that a pure extract legally contained corn syrup for years tells you everything about how loosely regulated this industry really is. The FDA allows pure vanilla extract to contain optional ingredients like glycerin, propylene glycol, sugar, dextrose, and corn syrup. Pure does not mean what you think it means. Speaking of marketing that borders on deception, let's talk about the brand that millions of home bakers swear by without ever questioning it. Baker's Imitation Vanilla is a powerhouse in the baking aisle. It consistently wins taste tests, and here's the bizarre reason why. It packs more synthetic vanillin per ounce than almost any competing product. America's Test Kitchen actually ranked it as their overall winner, but winning a flavor competition doesn't mean it's good for you. The ingredient list includes water, sugar, propylene glycol, vanilla extract in tiny amounts, alcohol, artificial flavors, and fruit juice for color. So there is a trace amount of real vanilla extract hiding in there, but it's swimming in a pool of synthetic vanillin sugar and propylene glycol. Think of it this way. If you poured a thimble of orange juice into a gallon of Fanta, you wouldn't call it fresh squeezed. Baker's is essentially doing the same thing with vanilla. The sugar in the formula masks the harsh chemical aftertaste that pure synthetic vanillin can have. It's engineered to taste good, and it does. But that doesn't make it vanilla. It makes it a very cleverly formulated chemical product that tricks your taste buds into thinking they're experiencing something natural. For everyday cookies where vanilla isn't the star, honestly, nobody will notice the difference. But for anything where vanilla actually matters, like a creme brulee, homemade ice cream, or a simple vanilla cake, you're cheating yourself and your recipe. Now let's talk about a brand that raises even more concerning questions. Molina Mexican Vanilla Blend is wildly popular, especially in the southern United States and in border towns. That big, affordable bottle looks like a steal next to tiny bottles of pure extract. But here is where it gets genuinely worrying. The FDA has repeatedly warned consumers about vanilla products from Mexico and Latin America because many contain coumarin, a substance derived from tonka beans that has been banned from United States food products since 1954. Coumarin can cause liver and kidney damage at high concentrations. Molina's version sold in United States grocery stores is supposed to be coumarin-free and safe for consumption. The bottles sold domestically are labeled as a blend of vanillin and real vanilla extract. But independent testing has historically flagged Mexican vanilla brands, including Molina, for coumarin contamination. The FDA Import Alert System specifically targets these products at the border. The problem is that the Molina you buy at your local Kroger might be perfectly fine, but the Molina look-alike your neighbor brought back from Cancun in a giant unlabeled bottle almost certainly is not. And here is what people do not realize. Coumarin smells and tastes incredible. That rich butterscotch-like warmth that makes Mexican vanilla seem so special is often the coumarin talking. It is the very thing that makes the product dangerous, and it is also what makes it taste better. It is like a con artist with perfect manners. The charm is the weapon. Moving on to a brand that hides behind a professional reputation. Wilton Clear Imitation Vanilla is a favorite among cake decorators and bakers who need vanilla flavor without the dark color that comes with real extract. It makes sense for white frosting and wedding cakes, right? But let's look at what is actually in the bottle. The label lists water, alcohol, and artificial flavors. The label does not tell you much more. The artificial flavors are synthetic vanillin and potentially ethyl vanillin. And because FDA labeling rules allow companies to lump everything under the umbrella term artificial flavors, you do not really know what else might be in there. What you do know is there are 0 vanilla beans involved, not a trace. This product exists for one reason: appearance. It is vanilla flavor for people who care more about what their cake looks like than what it tastes like. And in a world where Instagram determines baking success, Wilton sells a lot of clear vanilla. But here is what cake decorators figured out years ago. You can use real vanilla extract in white frosting, and the color difference is barely noticeable. A teaspoon of pure extract turns white buttercream into a very slightly off-white buttercream. It is negligible. You are trading real flavor for a cosmetic difference that nobody eating your cake will ever notice or care about. Your frosting does not need to look like it was made in a lab, but it is tasting like it was made in one. Now here is a brand that trips people up because the name sounds so authentic. Kirkland Signature Pure Vanilla from Costco actually is legitimate. But here's the catch: Costco also sells a Kirkland Signature Imitation Vanilla that sits right next to it on the shelf. The pure version is solid. It contains vanilla bean extractives, water, and alcohol. That is exactly what it should be. But the imitation version is a different story. Same Kirkland branding, similar bottle, and a dramatically different product. Because shoppers associate Kirkland with quality across the board, many grab the cheaper imitation bottle, assuming Costco's version must be better than other imitation vanillas. It is not. Imitation vanilla is imitation vanilla regardless of whose name is on it. The synthetic vanillin inside does not get fancier because it has a Costco membership. The lesson here is not that Kirkland is bad. The lesson is that brand trust can be weaponized. When you trust a brand for their rotisserie chicken, their toilet paper, and their gas prices, you stop reading labels. And that is exactly when food manufacturers have you right where they want you. Let's round this out with a store brand that flies completely under the radar. Kroger brand imitation vanilla extract sits quietly in America's largest supermarket chain, and most shoppers toss it in their carts without a second thought. It is cheap, it is right there, and the label says vanilla. Good enough, right? The typical ingredients include water, vanillin, ethyl vanillin, caramel color, and a preservative. Same formula you have seen from every other imitation brand on this list. But Kroger's version is interesting because it perfectly represents the larger problem with America's vanilla aisle. Kroger also sells a product called Pure Vanilla Extract for significantly more money. Both bottles sit on the same shelf, inches apart. One is a real food product. The other is flavored water. The store has no incentive to help you tell the difference because they profit from both. In fact, they profit more from the imitation version because the margins are astronomical. When your product's main ingredient is petroleum-derived vanillin that costs a few dollars per kilogram wholesale, and you sell it to consumers for several dollars per tiny bottle, that is a markup that would make a luxury fashion brand jealous. Every grocery chain in America runs this same playbook: real and fake, side by side, and your confusion is their business model. Here is the math that should make you angry. Synthetic vanillin costs roughly $10 to $15 per kilogram wholesale. Natural vanilla beans can run $400 to $600 per kilogram. That is a price difference of up to 120 to 1. When a company sells you a bottle of synthetic vanillin water for $3, their profit margin is obscene. When they sell you real vanilla extract for $12, the margins are actually thinner. The cheap stuff is not just worse for your taste buds, it is designed to be more profitable. So what should you actually buy? Here's where the good news comes in. Real vanilla extract doesn't have to bankrupt you. Simply organic. Pure vanilla extract uses only organic Madagascar vanilla beans and alcohol, with no added sugars, corn syrup, or other fillers. Nielsen Massey is considered the gold standard by professional pastry chefs with deep, complex flavor from Madagascar bourbon beans. Even McCormick's pure vanilla extract, the version that actually contains vanilla beans, is a perfectly respectable option at mainstream prices. But here's the ultimate move. Make your own. Split 5 to 7 vanilla beans lengthwise. Drop them in a bottle of decent vodka, bourbon, or rum, and stash it in a dark cabinet for 2 to 3 months. Shake it once a week, that's it. You'll have pure vanilla extract that's better than almost anything on store shelves, and the cost per ounce works out cheaper than buying premium bottles. Plus, you can keep topping off the alcohol and those beans will keep producing flavor for years. One batch can literally last you a decade. Try doing that with a $1.50 bottle of propylene glycol and synthetic dye. The vanilla industry is a masterclass in how food companies sell you less for more. Real vanilla has over 250 flavor compounds working in harmony. Things like guaiacol, anisaldehyde, and methylcinnamate that create layers of warmth, sweetness, and depth. Synthetic vanillin has exactly one compound doing all the work. It's like comparing a symphony orchestra to someone humming the melody in a parking lot. Technically, it's the same song, but one of them gives you chills and the other one makes you walk faster to your car. Next time you're standing in that baking aisle, flip the bottle around. If the ingredient list reads like a chemistry textbook, put it back. Your cookies, your cakes, and your taste buds deserve better than petroleum byproducts dressed up in a brown bottle. Real vanilla isn't expensive. Fake vanilla is just that cheap.